Okay, so the biggest question when you go into labor is, when do I go to the hospital, or when do I call my midwife if you're having home birth? So there's some telltale signs that providers will look for when they tell their patients. First of all, you can always call them and ask. So don't be afraid to call. It's not silly. There's lots of people that go into the emergency room or the birthing center and then they say, oh, you got to go back home. So don't be afraid of that. The first rule of thumb is the 5-1-1 rule. So what that means is if you are having contractions every 5 minutes that last for 1 minute, the contraction itself lasts for 1 minute, and they are happening like that for an entire hour. So 5-1-1. So 5 minutes, every 5 minutes you're having a 1 minute contraction for an entire hour. So that's the first sign that, hey, I should probably call my provider and tell them I think I'm going into active labor. So if you're still able to kind of joke around and laugh, make some comments, and not really feeling a lot of pain, and you are having the 5-1-1 rule does apply to you, you're probably not quite in active labor, but it is still a good idea to call your provider right away. Another sign would be is if you're over 37 weeks pregnant and those contractions do start, definitely call your provider. If your water breaks, call your provider. If you have any vaginal bleeding whatsoever in the stages of your pregnancy, or if you have a change in discharge, like if you maybe lost your mucus plug, that can happen, and that you can actually lose your mucus plug weeks before you actually go into labor. So that's not a huge like, oh my gosh, I need to call my provider, but it would be proper for you to call your provider. The last thing that you're going to want to look for is if you are having some serious pressure, like cramping down, kind of like the urge to push. That would mean that you would probably need to go or call your midwife if you're having a home birth. So all of those things taken into consideration. The biggest one is just to remember the 5-1-1 rule and call your provider if you have any questions.